Hi everyone, I'm back. My name is Sylvia and I am the president of the Grief and Bereavement Resource Center out of Columbia, South Carolina. You can Google the Grief and Bereavement Resource Center out of Columbia, South Carolina, or you can type in Grief and Bereavement rc.org/. Before I get into it, I just want to say I do not own the rights to this song, which is playing in the background. And I also want to state that this is just a quick grief nugget that I want to put out. I want to talk to the parents that is dealing with grief with their children. And so this grief nugget is going to be dealing with parents and their children and parents dealing with grief while also parenting. I know it can be a little difficult at times, but the first thing I want you to do is breathe. There is a process and a proper way of breathing. It's the first thing I want you to do because it kind of helps calm and soothes you. So let's get right into it. Oh, there is a breathing technique, and you can Google it because it does work for some people, okay? Yoga works for some people, breathing techniques work for others. Like, go for what you know, okay? There are many things you can do to kind of help calm you through this process. I just want to mention that when we talk about grief and we talk about children, we also want to talk about culture, okay? So I want to keep it very basic while I'm doing this video, and I try to keep a lot of things as basic information because the information that I put out is not going to pertain to everybody, okay? And so we all going to deal with grief and pain in some type of way. And so parents, if you're dealing with your children and they're going through their own grieving process as well as you, whether it be a pet loss, whether it be a human being, at the end of the day, I know you guys are trying to figure out this process as a parents to say, what do I do? How do I get through this with my child? How do I get through this period? And so I just want to say there is a number of things you can do, and we're going to talk about that. But first of all, I just want to give you this scripture to encourage you parents. And while you're dealing with this grief process with your child, I want to encourage you. And so there's a scripture that I want to give, and it is Psalms 147 is the chapter. Psalms 147 is the chapter, verse 3. He heals the broken heart and binds up their wounds. And so, and you can go and read that chapter and read that book for yourself. And so I wanted to let you know that you don't have to carry this process of going through your grief alone. There are people out there that can help, and you also have a spiritual father that understands this process just so much more than me, right? Because God gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. So who knows how much it truly is to miss the one that you love, but to also embrace the good and the bad that life offers. It's not an easy process, right? Bringing a child in the world is a beautiful process. May not have been a good one for a lot of people or for some people, but the process is an adorable one for others. And then you have the passing or the death part, which is not so great, right? So that's what I mean about having it. It's a beautiful process, but also at the same time, it can be a hurtful one. I want to go back and piggyback on the parents. And I just want you all to know that whenever you're dealing with your child and you're dealing with grief and you don't know where to go, remember the breathing process. That's one. And then number two, you can seek professional help. There are people who do grief coaching. There are people who are grief counselors, and then you have your therapist. There is a difference between therapists and counselors. Okay, a lot of people don't know that, but there is a difference. So I'm not going to dig too deep with all of that. I just wanted to mention that and put that out there. I also want to say that there are books that you can read. Some people like to read. So parents, you can read books that caters to family and grief, right? And so that book will talk about how a parent is dealing with their grief along with trying to help their child to maneuver through that process. It may be too much for some people. These are only options that I'm putting out. You have to know what works for you and for your family. Remember, I said in the beginning, culture. Okay, every family have a culture of how they raise their children or how they raise their child and how they have been raised, and also their nationality. Okay, so we all are different in the nationality that we are, and also how we deal and process our grief. So if you're a parent, don't forget to just Google and look for books that deals with family and grief. You can also look for books that deals with children and grief. Not all books, I don't think, are going to be good. You just have to read it and find what fits your child at their developmental stage, right? And how they process and understand things, and then your ability to work with your child. And if you, again, if you don't know how to go through that process alone, you can always contact a professional and help guide you through that process. I encourage you, if someone is offering like a one-time free session, or if they do an initial consultation for free, I want you to take advantage of those two things, whether it's a therapist or a counselor. I say go for it. And even if you're starting the process, right, dealing with grief and in your child dealing with grief, and you decide to go through grief counseling, remember you may have to go to one or two or maybe three to find the right fit for you and for your child. And the reason why I say that is because when parents seek me out, the first thing I tell them is, I will talk to your child, but I also want you to know I will not force them to talk to me, because kids have to develop a relationship with the therapist or counselor, and they have to feel comfortable to know that it's okay for me to talk to this person, right? Everybody don't click with everybody. It's just, it don't happen. Just like when you at work, you don't click with everybody on your job. Your child ain't gonna click with everybody either. Okay, so it can be kind of time consuming, but it's so well worth it when you find the right one. Trust me on that. It will be so well worth it when you find that good fit. So it will be a process. I don't want you to give up. I want to encourage you to keep pushing, keep moving along. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day. And thank you for watching this video and tuning in. I'll be back with some more grief nuggets for you. Stay tuned.